Hi, and welcome to CAFA Live. Thank you, CAFA, for having me today. My name is Susan Raphael. I'm a mental health and addiction clinician. And thank you, Donna, for asking me to participate in this. I am very nervous today, so we're going to have a good example of how to deal with anxiety in the era of COVID. So a little bit about me. I am a certified addiction and mental health clinician. I've been working in this field for over 20 years. I also have my own lived experience. So that means I have dealt with my own mental health and substance use disorder issues and concerns, and I am in active recovery. I'm also wearing Canadian designers today as a shout out to the fashion industry and to honor you folks at CAFA. I'm really excited to be here with you today. Also, happy Easter and happy Passover, because we are doing, despite the pandemic, we are doing this as in advance of a long celebratory weekend. So let's get started. I'm going to address the questions that were sent in advance. And the first question, wow, such a good question, is all I can think about and worry about is money. I've never been so stressed in my life. Help! Exclamation mark. Fabulous question. I understand. I feel your frustration. And I can feel the fear in the question. It is, I just saw a window pop up, so I'm a little distracted. It's such a difficult time that we're all going through. And I know for myself, if there's any comfort, it's that other people are going through this too. The folks that I work with on a daily basis, I counsel youth, adults, families with mental health and addictions. I consult with businesses, organizations. We deal with coping strategies. And my clientele is actually doing remarkably well because we talk about coping. We talk about coping in the good times as well as then how to take our coping into higher stress situations. So this is an extremely stressful situation, and we're all under such pressure and uncertainty. And yes, what does money represent to us? It's a sense of control. It's a sense of comfort and security. And when that carpet is ripped out from under us, it is devastating. So all I can do is validate your experience and say, I understand and feel how difficult this is. It's such a frightening time financially. And what's really helping me is taking things one day at a time. And that's something we do in recovery is all I have is today, and all I can be in control of is today. And for today, money and financial realities are incredibly uncertain. And that's what I know. That's my reality for today, and it sucks. It's absolutely horrible. And maybe it'll get better. We hope that it'll get better. And that's what we can do. Be in the moment, stay in the day, and not, by doing that, we're not catastrophizing. We're not future tripping. We're not getting into the, oh my God, what's going to happen? And again, there is some comfort for me that others are feeling and experiencing similar things. I know that in my recovery community, I have a community of wonderful recovering women and individuals and people in groups. There's always someone who's going through something that's more dire than what I'm experiencing. And it gives me such great perspective to share within a community, to share with others, because it just lets me it doesn't amplify my situation. It gives me comfort to know that others are struggling. So um, with health, with life and death, and that, and not to minimize with a positive kind of toxicity that says, well, your problems aren't as bad as somebody else's. Not in that way, but to tap into our own compassion and resilience that, yeah, things are tough and we can do hard things. That's a Glennon Doyle quote. I love Glennon Doyle. Reading her book Untamed currently. We can do difficult things. Look at our healthcare workers. Look at the people that are out there on the front lines every day, including, folks in your industry. It's tough. It's tough for the gig economy who relies on active commerce and fluid dynamic marketplaces, and everyone's being so creative. It's remarkable to see how people are patchworking things together to make things work at this time. And the next guest on CAFA is going to talk about that as well. So I hope that helps with the fear of financial insecurity question. And there are a lot of resources that it's giving me some comfort that there are resources out there to help us help us through these difficult financial times. The second question that was sent in advance, which I think is terrific and very appropriate, is I think I had my first anxiety attack. What am I supposed to do if this happens to me again? And I thought what a terrific question. Not, people that haven't had panic attacks or anxiety attacks don't know what it feels like. It's an activation of the central nervous system when we're overwhelmed, exceedingly stressed, and our brain and central nervous system is actually trying to take care of us. So it's sending out the amygdala sounds the alarm bells, and we fight, we flee, sometimes we freeze, and there's another response called fawn, which is similar to freeze. Essentially, our brain and body are trying to take care of us. They're telling us that we need to be concerned and we need to do something. So if we can understand that the symptoms and behaviors that we notice are actually trying to help us cope, there can be at least a little bit of understanding there. And I think a tendency can be for people to think, oh my goodness, I'm not coping. I'm not doing what I should be doing, and add that pressure of, if I were stronger, if I were better, if I were more equipped, I would be handling this better. Absolutely not. It is very personal, very subjective. Anxiety, some people get overwhelmed with a technical issue, and some people get overwhelmed with two things to do at the same time. Everyone has a different window of tolerance, threshold, equilibrium. Everyone has a different level of what keeps them okay, balanced. And all of us now, I think, are tipping the scales in one area or another of our lives, in terms of none of us have been through this before. It's our first pandemic for everyone. There's no manual, there's no guide as to how we're supposed to cope. So if we fall off the beam, that's okay. And I think an important thing to remember is not to make it worse. And I do the same thing. I judge myself when I'm feeling incapacitated, when I'm feeling overwhelmed or anxious. I think I shouldn't be feeling this way. And I've heard it said, that's shooting all over ourselves. So we're already feeling not well, we're already feeling crappy. To judge that is to add a double whammy, is to add a double negative. So noticing how we're feeling, noticing the symptoms, noticing the behaviors, elevated heart rate, maybe sweaty palms. For some people, they get a dry mouth. For your anxiety experience, notice what's happening in your body. That in and of itself, that creates a mindfulness that will relax the central nervous system, that will help you calm. Other key strategies for anxiety and panic are to practice relaxation when you're relaxed. Practice relaxation when you're not anxious so that you can draw on those skills when you are in a stressful, anxious situation. So if we wait until we're anxious and then try to put a Band-Aid on, it's too late. So I'm sure everyone's heard meditate, do yoga, do breathing exercises. It's very simple to tune into our breath. The problem is when we're already anxious, the blood flow changes. Our reptilian brain is saying we need to conserve energy. So it's harder to do those simple things, and respiratory system will slow. So having the practice of breath and breathing is so key because it will immediately calm us down. But again, when we're stressed, we can't go to that place because the brain has us going elsewhere. The brain is in survival mode. It's like you might as well be being chased by a saber-toothed tiger because the brain is responding as if that is happening. So 5 minutes of breathing every day can be a tremendous resource. Now, having said that, do I do that every day? No, I do have a practice of meditation that I do daily. There are some amazing meditation apps out there or on YouTube. I'm happy to provide resources at the end of this. Resourcing and solutioning can also be overwhelming. I know in the first week of this, I'm going into my 4th week of social isolation, and both my husband and I have immunodeficiency conditions, so we're being extra careful to keep ourselves safe, and we have vulnerable systems as a result. And so it's just important to practice these things when we're in a calm situation, so that when stress is exacerbated, we can draw on those coping strategies. So I hope that helps with the anxiety attack. And in terms of what to do if it happens again, is be prepared. So you'll be prepared because you have the breath work and you have just that very simple breathing. We don't need any tools. We can always use our breath, and we don't even have to be seen or noticed when we're using our breath. It can be very discreet and very just easy to access, absolutely easy to access. Ocean breathing for 5 minutes. Sorry, my screen just split there. Which is in through the nose, out through the mouth, and even practice it for 1 minute. And again, I'm happy to provide any of these resources after the session on my website, and you're more than welcome to reach out for complimentary feedback or help or resourcing and solutioning. As I said, it's overwhelming out there with everything that's being offered and everything that is coming at us in terms of solutioning. So another principle is to keep it very simple. Keep it simple. Just do the very next right thing. And a lot of self-care. The simple rituals. I love my sleepy time tea at night. I like to light a candle to create a nice ambiance. I like to have my lemon water. Those things that I can't access a lot of the self-care things that I usually do. The gym, some of the body work that I do, the going out to classes, going out to physical community meetings. I have to adapt, and we all have to adapt. And we are very adaptable. We're very resilient, resourceful, adaptable humans. So, I'm confident that, again, with community, and there's been an amazing response and silver lining to this in terms of people coming together. I've had Zoom calls and get-togethers with people I hadn't seen, or reconnected with people, which brings me to another coping strategy, which is really connecting with others, connecting with family, connecting with whoever makes you feel better. whatever makes you feel better, do it. And especially if it's healthy for us. I mean, how are we coping? Are we coping or are we crutching? Are we using substances? Are we using what I call process skipping techniques, escapism, numbing? And we all do this to some extent. Again, it's a matter of kind of a continuum of noticing maybe people are using substances more. If you're aware of that and you have the awareness that you're coping in that kind of a way for now, just again having that awareness is something, that mindfulness, being able to step back from the behavior and notice it, and again talking to someone about it, having some accountabilities there maybe. I find I can't see my personal trainer, so I'm texting with her, getting some accountability there, getting some honesty and some owning up to what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, maybe some suggestions if I require that. Sometimes people give us unsolicited advice and we don't want that. So we can say so. I just want to vent. I just need someone to talk to. I don't really want any feedback right now. Thank you. I don't need any solutions. I can solution for myself. But I do want to be heard and I do want to be validated. I think validating each other right now is very essential, and understanding that we are all going through this. And pithy lines like "this too shall pass" it doesn't always help. So asking if they're, who makes you feel safe? What makes you feel safe? I just bought myself a stuffed animal. Like, I'm feeling like I need that little extra level of comfort and support. And so, my age and stage, and I bought a stuffed animal. So, we got to work with what we have. I don't have all the things that I normally use to cope that are outside of my house and my home. So, thank goodness for Spotify and Amazon and places where we can get things to make us feel better, right? Um, and and we need to feel better. We need to be able to feel better and get through this. And it's okay to want to feel better. It's okay to feel your feelings. The third question that I received in advance is, I'm noticing my body changing, and I hate what I see when I look in the mirror. I keep hearing to be gentle on ourselves, and that we should be gentle on ourselves, and I don't know what that means. Boy, I can really relate to this. I have a history of eating disorder symptoms and behaviors, and lots of my clientele do as well. So yeah, when we're under stress, our coping strategies can exacerbate, and if one way we cope is to be self-critical and focus on body image, these are ways of a false sense of control, of looking at our body, our body image, or what we're taking into our body, or counting calories, or looking at the scale. These are ways to control. So I think validating the process as it is a coping strategy. It's not a sustainable one, and it's one that can bring such judgment and criticism and make us actually feel worse. So back to the, don't do anything that makes you feel worse. So if getting on the scale is going to make you feel worse, maybe you don't have to get on the scale. If looking in the mirror makes you feel worse, maybe we don't need to look in the mirror. Having the awareness of the behavior, of the symptom, which you do, testing that, reality testing that thought. Is my body really changing? Does that mean I'm gaining weight? Or maybe there's some body composition shifts because of maybe we're more sedentary, or maybe we're baking bread and eating bread. So we're hearing a lot of that. Reality testing that. And if you have a trusted confidant or someone, or therapist or doctor to talk to you about that, fantastic. There are a lot of resources out there too for body image and eating disorder behaviors, and I'm not suggesting there's an eating disorder here at all, just to disordered eating is a reality in society today. And Being gentle on ourselves is the don't make it worse. Um, the, we're not in this situation forever, and there are trade-offs. We're indoors more, we're sedentary perhaps if we're used to going out of the home to work. Things are in flux and they will shift, and controlling what we can is so important and valuable, making sure that we are doing what we can and giving it some perspective. So I hope that's helpful with respect to the not liking what you see when you look in the mirror. And that's such a strong language. I hate what I see when I look in the mirror, and I really feel for you. And it may be too soon or too difficult to use positive affirmations when you're feeling in that negative headspace. Tuning into breath again could be a tool to relax some of that thinking and some of that negativity. So I don't see questions coming up, which is fine. This is going to be posted. So I'm just going to go into a couple of the coping key resourcing that we can all utilize. If there's one thing that's important right now, it's to feel your feelings. It's okay. We all have an array of feelings that this pandemic and COVID-19 are eliciting in us. Grief, loss of our freedoms, loss of loved ones in some cases, loss of the ability to see loved ones, fear, anger, judgment, blame. Feel your feelings. Your feelings are valid. It's okay. They're just feelings. And we've been stripped away of the normal comforts that we have around us, that we're used to having around us, that we're used to resourcing with, that we're used to distracting ourselves with. So feelings are going to come up. Absolutely. Feelings are going to come up. And we don't like discomfort. We like to run from discomfort, and we tend to do that through substance use, anxiety, and anxiety in and of itself is a coping strategy. There's a shot of dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter that makes us feel happier when we have a negative thought as well as a positive thought. So there can be an attachment to emotions that will keep us distracted from the feelings that we are not wanting to feel. But again, feelings are just feelings. And if we feel them and we don't skip over the process of feeling them, they will pass. We can let them go. Myself, I was feeling a lot of grieving and loss in the first couple of weeks of this, of the ability to do what I wanted to do, the freedoms that we experience and are able to have on a daily basis. And I started doing some resourcing and finding out that others were having that experience as well. I read some great articles on grief and loss and loss of a sense of control over day-to-day life, a sense of certainty over what we think is coming in financially, certainty, and really how elusive the notion of control is. That all we really do have is today, one day at a time, and to plan too far into the future. I had lots of travel planned, and I realized without that travel, boy, there were some gaps. I was feeling some gaps in my day-to-day life without those travel adventures to look forward to. I was supposed to go to the Olympics and volunteer, and had some travel at the end of this month to see friends and go to a conference. And without those things to look forward to, I was feeling a sense of loss and a sense of frustration that I couldn't get. A lot of 2-year-old kind of foot stomping going on in my psyche, and just dealing with that. It's okay. It's loss. It's not the worst thing in the world, but for me, relatively speaking, and for us, relatively speaking, our loss matters. Our feelings matter, and they can be frightening. And our sense of safety and security is not fostered right now. We don't feel safe. We don't feel secure. We feel very uncertain, and all of that rocks our foundation. And to acknowledge and accept that and validate that, there's a concept called radical acceptance. in a modality of treatment called dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT. Radical acceptance. So we're all forced to radically accept it. It doesn't mean we have to like it, condone it, understand it. We are being forced to accept a situation that is really unacceptable and beyond our scope of an ability to handle it. And we're all doing the best that we can. Reality testing our thoughts and feelings is a critical kind of way of conceptualizing. Our thoughts are not facts. Our thoughts are just thoughts. Our feelings are valid. Our feelings are just feelings. They will pass. They will leave us. And separating the facts and our thoughts from the story that our mind creates around the facts, the projecting, the catastrophizing, the what if, the future tripping, all of that can make us very anxious and can threaten our sense of security and safety. And so the last coping strategy is talking to and connecting with trusted people, safe people, people that are going to make you feel safer, more secure, that foster a sense of safety and security, since we don't have that in our environment right now. Zoom meetings have been rampant, and in the recovery community, there are so many wonderful supports through Zoom. And that gives connection, a sense of connection. It's not in-person connection, it's still connection. Again, I can point people to resources that are affordable or funded. The professional body that regulates my practice, the Canadian Addiction Counsellor Certification Federation, is offering free counseling around addiction currently. A wonderful resource, and there's a ton more. So if people need or want to be connected to resources, I'm happy to provide some guidance on that if I can. Daily coping strategies. A question came up. Thank you. Thanks for that question. Daily coping. I have a lot of different things I do on a daily basis. The breath work and a simple meditation. I think ritual is fantastic. Ritual, having something, again, I mentioned my sleepy time tea and my lemon water, is simple. Simple, can almost do it anywhere. I'll travel with sleepy time tea because you don't have it everywhere. Something that what makes you feel safe? What makes you feel at ease? What makes you exhale? And just like do that. You don't have to find something new to do. Draw on something that has already helped to scaffold some resourcing, internal resourcing for you. Use something that works. And absolutely acquire new skills. It's a challenging time to seek out something new when we're not feeling grounded. So I like to go to things that I know work, and of course, this is my realm, so I do it all the time. But we all have things that we do that we know that help us. And we have to be able to do them inside our homes now, essentially. So if shopping was one of your things, then, we could still shop, but through different means. So breath work, ritual, connecting to people that make us feel better. I've been doing puzzles again. I do puzzles sometimes, and I've been puzzling and watching Netflix and working out, moving my body, getting in my body instead of just in my head, where I can spend a lot of time. That's been really important. So I hope that helps to answer that question. And daily rituals and daily coping strategies are very important. Journaling helps a lot of people. Coloring, anything to bring us into the moment, and anything to do with our hands relaxes us just by virtue of relaxing the central nervous system. Coloring, cooking, drawing, journaling, anything with tactile stimulation can help in the moment, help us cope. So I think I'm noticing that we're approaching the end of time, and I don't see additional questions. So think I'm going to start working on kind of winding us down here. I'm going to check my notes and see if I missed anything key. And I do want to introduce the next CAFA Live guest, and that is Krista Roney, Community Manager at Shopify. I mentioned that earlier. She's going to answer your questions about improving your e-commerce solutions if you're in your e-commerce presence. So tune in on April 13th at noon, and Krista will be live on CAFA then. You can send your questions for her in advance, and I'm going to say the email address to send them to. That's live at CAFAWARDS.ca. So it's live at cafawards.ca. So there's only one A. So live at CAFA Awards. Send your questions in advance. I hope I've been able to answer your questions in a general way. Social media platforms are not therapy. They're not counseling. So they're not confidential, clearly. And I welcome your direct messages. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can reach me through my website, sustainablerecovery.ca. I'm on Instagram, sustainable_recovery. Susan Raphael. You can find me using my name, Susan Raphael, and honestly, I'd be more than happy to hear from you. It helps me to help you. So reach out, ask your questions, check in, and I would be really happy to be here again and kind of follow up and see how people are doing, see how you're coping. I know that things have changed a lot for me in a couple of weeks, and I imagine they'll change for others and continue to change. So I think that I have covered all my bases. I'm really not very linear, so I hope I have not missed anything critical. It's been just an honor to be here. Thanks again to Donna Bishop for asking me to participate, and to the Canadian Arts and Fashion Awards. Thank you for this platform, and I really hope to be here again and help you all. All the best for a wonderful long weekend. In these circumstances, we're all doing the best that we can. Bye for now.